So we're back again, and do you recognize this pretty girl?
Looks like my twin.
Yeah, not identical twin, I might say. This is my daughter Miriam, Mimi for short, and she and Matt were born together 27 years ago. So I'm going to tell a little story about your sister, okay?
Better looking twin.
I don't know about that, but they're both good kids. So let me just get to the next slide. There we are. So, the stuff that I teach in terms of real estate invention and real estate investing is not just for other people that I coach or help as a real estate broker, but it's also, I think, applies to my children, and I'm trying my best to be, the next Duke of Westminster. Now, I have a ways to go, I might add, Matthew.
Everything starts small.
Yeah, everything starts small.
So the Duke even started with one building.
By 1753, you saw Grosvenor Square. It was pretty amazing. But anyway, we're doing our best. So this is a home in West End, Ottawa. It's a semi-detached, and I suggested to Mimi that she and I and her mom, Dawn, buy this building together. And it's kind of a pretty ordinary brick building. Built in 2000. All right, it has a one-car garage here. It's a 3-bedroom semi-detached with, I think, 2.5 bathrooms. But one of the things I really liked about it, Matthew, was the fact that you can sort of see it slopes towards the back, and you'll see what that means. It means as you come down here, if you can sort of see my cursor on the left, and you come around, you'll notice that it has what's called a walkout basement. And this was really, really important. And here's a better view of it. So this is the door here to the lower level, the basement, and here is a large window that you get when you have a walkout condition. So we were looking very specifically for this opportunity. Now, you remember we talked about walkability and proximity to good quality things, in other words, positive externalities. This one is about 9 minutes by car to Britannia Beach, which is one of the best, maybe the best beach in Ottawa. It's about 4 minutes from shopping, and Farm Boy in our area is a big deal, so about 4 minutes to get to shopping, 10 minutes by bus. You've got a major employment generator, so if you're going to put a rental property together, you want to be close to government employment, you want to be close to a hospital, you want to be close to a university, a tech campus, anything where you have major employment. And so this one is about 5 minutes by car and about 13 minutes by bus to the Queensway Carleton Hospital, where I'm sure several thousand people work. It's not far from downtown, so it's about 22 minutes or 17 minutes by car and about 39 minutes by bus. And it's pretty close to a major regional shopping center. You can walk there in 10 minutes. And generally, walking distance, considered that this is a cold northern shelf city, walking distance is generally considered 5 or 10 minutes. It's maybe 20 minutes if you're a hardy sort of person, but not an hour. That's too far in a cold weather city like this. Its walk score, I tested it. Not bad, 63, somewhat walkable, decent transit, very bikeable. So it came out pretty good, pretty well in terms of walk score. And what Mimi did with her contractor is she renovated the lower level. So you're going to see pictures in the next couple of minutes of the renovation. So that's the front door to the lower level, which is now a separate apartment. There's the large window you can see here from the inside, small closed cupboard as you come in, and a subfloor here, and I guess probably a laminate floor there. This is the kitchen that they put in. It does have secondhand appliances, but it looks, I think, pretty good. Would you agree, Matt?
It's nice and clean.
Nice and clean. The tenant actually liked green, so it's a 1-bedroom apartment, so you can see here you go. And Mimi and Dawn did something really clever with this. Because the bedroom, it is a 1-bedroom, because the bedroom is fairly small, they actually took the cupboard out and they put it here, outside. And you can only really do that in a 1-bedroom, but you can go from the bathroom, which is here, to the closed cupboard, to the master bedroom, and vice versa, and make the bedroom bigger without making it bigger, if you know what I mean. This is a walk-in shower. This is what we find most tenants want. Some tenants, I guess, would want a tub, but most we find something that's a walk-in shower. So this is what we put in here. That's another view, I guess, of the kitchen, the living dining room, and the bedroom there. I I got a few. Okay, now this is important. Here was where the stairs were to the upper level of the house. We removed the stairs, so these two apartments, the upstairs home and the lower level apartment, are completely separated now. They're fire separated, smell separated, noise separated, and we took the stairs out. If we hadn't taken the stairs out, this wouldn't have been a viable apartment. It's another shot of the bathroom. It has its own washer and dryer, which is very important. So, everybody will tell you that you cannot rent an apartment while it's under construction. Don't pay any attention to that. We rented this place to a very nice young couple while the floors were dug up, had been completely disassembled to put new plumbing in, and we rented it for $930, which was the base rent. $185 for utilities subject to review, and $115, this is important, for something that I think is quite new, which is a tech package. We provide for all of our tenants now a tech package that includes internet, Wi-Fi, basic cable, Netflix, Spotify, which is a music streaming service, a large screen wall-mounted TV. So the moment that a client, a tenant moves in, everything works for them. So we got a total of $1,230 a month, which in this area is pretty good for a one-bedroom apartment. And what we say to our tenants is, yeah, the rents might be a little bit above average, but we're going to make sure that you have parking. We're going to make sure that the snow and lawn maintenance are done for you. You focus on what you have to do because you're a busy person. We'll do everything else, right? So it's kind of a hassle-free thing. And then we always give our tenants an option if they need some extra storage space. We don't make our tenants go and rent a mini storage place for $115, $130, $200 a month. Put the storage shed in the backyard, and if a tenant wants that, don't give it to him or her free. Charge them $85 a month. From their point of view, it's certainly a lot cheaper than getting in the car and going 3 or 4 miles and renting a storage shed for $120. It's much more convenient too. And we also provide other services. I never understood, Matthew, why you don't provide more services to your tenants. If they require cleaning, we have cleaners who work for us. We make a little bit of money. We pay our cleaners $85. We charge $95, so we make a little bit of money. But we give our tenants more services. They're busy. They've got their own lives. We want them to have a great experience. So this tech package has, internet, Wi-Fi, all the good stuff, Netflix, basic cable, all that stuff that you expect. And this has been a real hit for our tenants. Spotify. People love it. They have, I think, 50 million tunes you can choose from, an infinite number of playlists, and we put very good quality Sonos speakers that'll blow your mind. Do you remember Back to the Future when the young fellow, Marty McFly, hits his guitar and he flies backward 10, 12 feet? That's what Sonos speakers are like. The sound that comes out of them is fantastic. It improves your quality of life. Now let's look at this tech package that I talked about in terms of real estate invention. I think it's the single biggest profit center to be introduced to residential real estate in 25 years. I really do think so. And so I put some numbers together for everybody here. So what is the cost of putting in a large screen TV, the cost of adding Netflix, basic fiber, high-speed internet? We use Magic Jack phones, if you know what those are. They cost about $3 a month. So we have about an install cost of about $1,000. There's some contingencies in here, and total cost of about $1,142. All right. Spotify, you can get a subscription to Spotify for $10. Netflix, I think, is $12 a month. Basic fiber that we brought into this particular building for $100. A Magic Jack phone, as I mentioned, $3, $125. So here's the cool thing. If you have an upstairs apartment like me, or home that Mimi has, you charge the home $135 a month for the tech package. You charge the lower level $115. And now, if you have, for example, a coach house, you're allowed today in Ottawa to build coach houses, which are really little granny flats in your backyard. You can charge another tech package. If you have a home office like I do in the garage, you can charge another tech package. So it's possible that you're going to start to see rates of returns that are so outstanding from tech packages. As long as you have at least 2 users, you will get probably about a 90% return on your money. And certainly if you get to 3 or 4 or 10, it'll be that much more. And if you own a 10-unit apartment building or a 30-unit apartment building, get into this part of it. Now you might say, well, wait a second. From the tenant's point of view, is that a good deal? But it is. If you think about it, if a tenant were to contract with Bell or Rogers or AT&T or Verizon themselves for all of these services, they're probably going to be paying about the same amount. And if they're a new customer to those companies, they might actually have to put down a deposit. It could be $400 because they're unknown to those companies. And how long does it take, Matt, to hassle with AT&T or Verizon or Rogers to get the package that you want, to get it installed, to get it working?
It's frankly not worth it.
It's frankly not worth it, and that's what we found. So this has been very successful for us. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about smart home automation. And everywhere I go, I see people talking about, real estate invention and how exciting it is to have a connected home. And then I look and see what they're actually talking about. And frankly, I'm not that impressed, Matthew. They say, well, we can connect appliances. Well, that's great. We can connect your kitchen. Okay. We can put your shades up and down. We can dim the lights for you. And I kind of go, really? Okay. Yeah, it's kind of cool, but what is a must-have and what is a nice-to-have, right? And I think we should be focusing as real estate investors on must-haves rather than nice-to-haves. So, and that would be true, Matthew, whether we're talking about real estate or we're talking about any new industry. Start with the must-haves and add the bells and whistles later on. So if you're a rich dude and you want to have these fancy automated blinds and you can be able to sit there and put them up and down because you want to watch Netflix, The Good Wife on Netflix, okay, you're a rich dude, very cool, yeah, okay. But, for a guy like me, if I want to watch, my wife and I like The Good Wife on Netflix, we happen to think it's a good show. If I need to close the blinds, I could get up and do it myself. I don't need to spend the money on home automation to do that. Another concept that everybody needs to know, and don't forget, I'm setting the stage for real estate invention. So by the time this course finishes, I will give you probably 50, 60, 70 ideas of things that you can do that are economically viable, that have a good ROI, and are new and inventive, or at least I think are new and inventive, that will help you. But what I'm trying to do, Matthew, right now in this introduction to the course is give you the background. Some of you already have that. So if I'm repeating some of the things you've heard me say before, I apologize, but bear with me. I'm going to take you to the level that you were at before, and then we're going to, before the end of this course, we're going to go way beyond it. Okay? You believing me?
Yeah. Sounds
You're
like
buying that?
I am.
Okay. So let's start with HABU, H-A-B-U, the highest and best use. Highest and best use is one of the fundamental planning concepts that certainly back in the 1740s, the Grosvenor family would have understood. The first Duke of Westminster would have understood. Legally permissible, physically possible, financially feasible, maximum use of that property. Okay, that's what highest, and this is what I want everybody to focus on. Whether you own a modest home like I do in Ottawa, or you own the fanciest tower in New York City and Manhattan, right? Highest and best use is a concept that is tried and true, and I believe in it. So here's the house that my wife and I own. It's it's about 14 or 15 minutes from downtown Ottawa. It's a modest home on Henry Farm Drive. Fairly close into the city, but not right downtown. All right? I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the highest and best use, the HABU, for this place. It has a garage office, which we're sitting in right now, right, Matt?
Yep, right now.
Except that I cheated here, right? That is a really super, super, super nice home office, but it's not mine. Mine actually looks like this. So it is a garage door. That's an insulated garage door, a special order from Laval, Quebec. So it works perfectly well in summer or winter when it's hot or cold. And you walk in and there's a garage office with an epoxy resin floor. That home office, believe it or not, saves me $1,000 a month. That's what I was paying before when I had my office outside of my own home. So that's worth $1,000 a month.
And Grandpa still being useful, holding the door open.
Yes, you picked that up very good. This is my dad. That's I guess a bronze sculpture of my dad, Jack Firestone. He had about as much hair as I have, or maybe I should say I have as much hair as he had. So this is another shot of it, and this is a path that leads to a side yard apartment. So the main house, it's a split level, is here where my wife and I live, and on this side, there's a door on the side that leads to another one-bedroom apartment. So even in our own home, we have done some of this animation stuff and differentiated stuff that I've talked about. So we have the main home here, the garage office there, and a side yard apartment at grade. Now, something else that we did was we put in some hardscaping here. You can see some of these pavers. And these pavers will last about as long as the Roman roads did, at least 2,000 years. And sure enough, the moment we got it in, one of our neighbors, I guess, complained to the city, and the bylaw officer shows up, Matthew, and says, you can't have front yard parking. And I said, yes, you can. He said, no, you can't. I'm going to have to cite you. I said, wait a second. I have a copy from the newspaper, the local newspaper, of our mayor proudly announcing that Ottawa now, we're now allowed to have more hardscaping, less grass, and more environmentally sustainable, and get cars off the street, all these good things. And he said, yes, that's correct, Mr. Firestone, except for in this neighborhood. I said, you're kidding. In the western suburbs, the eastern suburbs, the southern suburbs, you can have front yard parking, just not here. He said, that's correct. I'm going to have to cite you and fine you. And I said, well, I don't think you should do that. And he said, why not? And I said, because when we amalgamated all these suburbs into one city in 2000, the Premier of the province of Ontario came to Ottawa and said to everybody, and I was at that press conference, that one of the benefits of amalgamation, of putting all these municipalities and townships together in one civic administration, one of the benefits is that you would not have this exact issue. In other words, you would be allowed to do something in the eastern part of the city or the western part of the city, but not where I happen to live, which is more central. So what you're really telling me, I said to the bylaw officer, in the United States they call them ordinance enforcement. What I said to the gentleman is, what you're really telling me is in the 15 years since then, you haven't done your job. And he said, well, I'm not sure about that. So I said, here's what's going to happen. If you find me, I will not pay that. I will appeal that to the Committee of Adjustment. I will ask, excuse me, for a minor variance. And if I don't get that, I will go to the Ontario Municipal Board, which is an appeal board. And I will ask them for permission to have front yard parking. And if that doesn't work, I'll go to divisional court. Excuse me. And if that doesn't work, I'll make a political issue out of it. So he beetled off, and that was 2 years ago. So I haven't seen him since then. One of the things you have to know, folks, if you're watching this video as you watch it, is that when you are involved in ratting out your neighbor, you can do that anonymously. But once you get into a courtroom or an appeal body, you have to appear. So I also told the bylaw officer to tell whoever it was who complained that when we go to the Committee of Adjustment, to the Ontario Municipal Board, or we go to the divisional court, he or she, they will have to show up and they have to face me. And you should never argue with your neighbors. So there you go. He's never shown up again. Now the other thing that's become legal, in fact, just 2 weeks ago in Ottawa, are coach houses. You're going to see, I think, about 850 of these built in Ottawa in the next 5 years. And that means you can put a little granny flat or a 1 or 2 bedroom, maybe even a 3-bedroom coach house in your backyard. So instead of, as an investor or a homeowner, having to buy another piece of property to have another piece of property to rent, you can use the property you already own. 40% of your backyard can be used for a coach house, and we hope to build one of these in our backyard. There's our backyard, and part of that, 40% of it, in a year or so, will be occupied by a coach house. And as you guys know already, I love storage sheds. You can rent them out to your tenants for 80 or 90 bucks, maybe $100 a month. But don't buy this kind. Okay? This is a metal shed that I bought from a major chain. I won't mention their name, Lowe's. And it did make it through one winter. The roof collapsed in the first winter, and I went to see the one of the managers there. I said, what happened? He said, oh, you had to buy a roof strengthener kit. I said, you're selling sheds in a cold northern shell city like Ottawa without strengthener kits, and you knew this roof would fail? Well, sorry, So don't buy these. Buy these. These are Amish-built sheds. And Matthew and I and his older brother Andrew, we built one of these up in Dunrobin. It's been there for over 30 years. The only thing we've done in 30 years, Matt, was replace the roof once, right? And the only reason we replaced the roof was a tree fell on it, if you remember that.
Yep.
So what you have is you have a $2,500 Amish style shed that'll probably last 30 or 40 years. It costs you about $2,500 to put in, and if you can get, say, $100 a month in rent, that's $1,200 on a $2,500 investment for 30 years. Not the worst thing that ever happens to an investor.
Pretty good cap rate.
Pretty good cap rate. Something else, as I mentioned earlier, I am working with an incredible number of entrepreneurs, makers, fabricators, people who have fencing businesses, electric businesses, plumbing businesses, survey businesses, legal weed growing businesses, right? Who want these kinds of workshops, heated, cooled workshops in their backyard. These are, I think, are a tremendous asset for all of us. So this is my horrible sketchy note here that you can see, and I apologize if you can't read it, but this is a typical development plan where you've got a house here, you've got a lower level apartment here with its own entrance on the side. You've got a coach house, maybe some maker space in the backyard. And I said, if I were doing home automation today, what would I start with? Well, I would start with that tech package. I would start with a control over the T-stats, over your temperature. And the reason for that is you want the people in the basement and the people in the main house all to have access to that, so that if you're too cold or too hot, you can adjust it. You could put all of these on an app. There are T-stats that you can buy for about $200. Download the app, and everybody can control the heating and the cooling. The tech package I've already talked about. This is a huge ROI, and so it should be, in my mind, one of the things that you start with. The other thing that I want to do, and I think should be part of this package, is electronic door locks. And the reason for that is if you have tenants, or if you are, certainly if you're doing anything with Airbnb, where you have people coming in every week or two, electronic door locks is the way to go. All right, we're almost through part C here, or part 1. And just so you know, I have probably 500 or 600 articles on my blog. It's Prof Bruce. You can see it up here. There's the URL, profbruce.tumblr.com/archive. You can go there. There's a tremendous amount of resources available to you. It's separated by month, so it goes back some years now, and there's lots of fun stuff there, but some good stuff too. All right, time for another break.